welcome back. This is going to be like part two of this plane restoration. You see, I've repainted the body of this plane, and of course, when I was before I did that, I masked all these areas off, both sides and the sole, places you don't want to paint. And inside there's a couple of machine spots where the frog rests, like here, down in here, and you don't want them painted. So what I did there was put a little Vaseline in there, so of course the paint won't stick. And that's how we accomplished that part, and then I took what I believe I said earlier is called a high solid primer. It's kind of that rusty colored stuff you buy. Painted that on by hand. That helps cover up some of the imperfections that you're going to have. Cast iron is kind of rough and it still shows a little of it, but it's not too bad. It's pretty good. It was a pretty good job. It was a good plane to start on. And what we're going to do today is put this thing back together, and we're going to show you how it was used. And kind of before I get started on that, I'm going to show you how I sharpened up the iron for it. And I don't know if you can see that very good, but I got it pretty well polished up. I've already done it, but I'm going to show you how you will accomplish that. And what I'll generally do, I'll get the iron, I'll put a square on it like this and try to see how square the iron is, and you'd like to have it as square as possible when you're done. And this one was off quite a ways. And what I'll generally do to start with, I'll take a coarse piece. This is probably about a 400 grit emery cloth, and I'll put it over on a real flat surface. My table saw over here has a cast iron table on it, and I will put this down on it, and then I'll work it back and forth, maintaining the right bevel on it as we go along, until I work it down to where it's square. When I put that square on it, a lot of times I'll take and I'll make a mark across so I can keep track of my progress. Then, when you get it down to where you want it, you can start in on over here. I have this piece of granite cutting board. You want something that's really flat, and what I'll do with that, I'll start out with a 600 grit. We go up to about 1,000, and then to a 5 micron, so it's pretty fine. You want this thing to be polished, when you're done. So now I'm going to just go over here onto the super fine one here, and show you how I do it. I just take it like such, and make sure I get my bevel where it's supposed to be. Then I just start going back and forth with it. Sometimes I'll use a mineral oil on here, and it kind of makes a slurry and kind of helps go along. But anyway, it takes once you get it roughed in, it don't take too long to go through these. But to get it roughed in on that coarser one, it might take you quite a while, depending on how bad that blade is. So anyway, that's kind of how we sharpen them up. And the next thing we're going to do is we're going to put this plane back together. Try to show you how it works. And you can see I took the frog and I kind of painted by hand the parts that were unpainted here. I just took a brush and some black enamel and I painted those parts. And I'll show you the screw. I've already got the screw in here, and that's for the frog adjustment. And this thing goes in that notch in that screw like such. And that's how you move your frog back and forth to get it adjusted where you like it. So the other thing I'll tell you, you can only go so far with some of this stuff, because this used to be nickel plated, and of course most of that is gone. There's a little bit of it on there, but all I did is wire brush it up real good on the wheel to get it, to what I call acceptable. There's no going forward with trying to get it replated. I could have painted it, but that's not how it was when it was new. And, kind of the same thing goes with the body and stuff. You don't want to go too far. People like that patina on there, but if you got some rust and, scale on there that you can remove, you almost have to do that. But you don't want to polish it up. It's not what people would want, at least most people. If you're keeping it, then who cares? And then I repainted the handle, the front and rear tote. And like I said, this is Type 18, and this is like the first model where they had hardwood handles and they painted them black. That was the first model they did that with. Everything prior to this was generally made out of Brazilian rosewood, which is just a real beautiful grain and very anymore. They almost wiped it out by over harvesting it. So went to this, I guess, probably became a little less expensive, I suppose, as things were getting scarce. So anyway, you got the frog sitting on there. You got the two screws and the washers that hold that in place. Down in there, we'll get this one started, maybe, yep. And you're just gonna put it down there to where it makes contact. Same thing's gonna go on this side. You don't want to tighten it up all the way because we may want to adjust this frog back and forth. This frog is kind of where I want it, but I just want to show you how you would accomplish that. And then of course you take the cap, the chip breaker, the cap iron, or whatever you want to call it, and I usually put it down there pretty close to the edge of the cutter. Put the screw in the back. You can tighten that up all the way. Okay. And we'll just set it on there. And like I said, bevel down on these, not up. So you put it in there. You get your adjuster in the slot, and you get it set where it goes, and then you kind of look and you see where you got your iron in the thing. And I guess this is about where I want it. So we can proceed now. A little further. What I want to do is put the adjustment screw on the back here. You gotta get that. This is a left-hand thread. Some of the older models, it was a right-hand thread. So if you were turning it this way, it was actually pulling the blade back instead of pushing it out. So after a while, they changed to a left-hand just to, I guess, make it a little less confusing. So anyway, that of course controls this thing, which also controls your blade. So there, got that off again. We'll put I'm going to put the knobs on, I guess. We'll get that done. We got the front. Of course, I got that all polished up stuff again. Put that on there. And if you remember from the first one, this knob that was on here was broken. And so I've replaced it. I had another one of the same type in the box over here with my spare parts. And then the rear tote has a screw up here in the front, which I start first generally. See, everything gets in the road if you get the other stuff on there. Can't really get it. So I'll get this one started a little bit, hopefully. Oh yeah. There she goes. I'm going to tighten it up until I get this one in here properly. So put that in. And we can tighten this one the rest of the way. Okay, good and tight. Now, I'm going to put the iron back on, get it where it belongs, in the cap. Let's loosen this screw right here a little bit, because that's how you adjust the tension that this thing is going to have when you snap the lever over. It works kind of like a cam, you know, so you just snap it over. That's not really as tight as it should be. I backed it off too much. Well, okay, let that be a lesson to you. Always turn your phone off if you're making a video. And where were we now? Okay, yeah, we were trying to get this cap adjusted so it's a little tighter. So I turn it, it's still not tight enough. Turn that screw in a little further, make it a little tighter. Okay, yeah, that's pretty good. Okay, so anyway, when you're going to adjust this now, so we're going to cut with it, generally I like to do, get it, and I will, or I can sight down it, and I can see this blade sticking through. We're just probably going to get her close here. Can't feel it much there. So we'll take the adjusting screw back here and we'll turn it in there clockwise until we start getting an iron sticking through the sole here. And I can see already that I got more sticking out on this side than on this side. So that's where we take this lateral lever back here and we move that over so we can get it kind of even. We want it to be even across here. Looks like it's still a little more that way. We'll move it a little more. Turn it out a little more. That's pretty close. It looks like it anyway. We'll find out when we try to use it. So anyway, I got it set up so we should be able to cut with it. What I'm going to do is reposition the camera and we're going to see if we can't make this thing cut. So here we go. I've got a piece of rough cut walnut in here that we're going to work down a ways. So we'll show you how this goes. Try to keep generally you're using a plane like this, you want to keep it skewed, not square on like that. This helps it cut a little bit. Well, that gives you a general idea, but you can see I not have that blade sticking out there very far. You're really looking for a nice fine shaving. You can't take too much for these things. They're not made for that. They're made to take a fine cut. And like I said, this jack plane made to get the more material removed. So once you get that done, you'd take like I got this little number 3 here, smoothing plane. I'm not done with this board yet, but just for demonstration purposes, you take this little smoothing plane and then you go on to get your final finish for that. So you see, and that's how they generally the way things work with that. So I'm fairly happy with this plane, the way we got it. It's definitely usable, just the way it is. Usually when I'm done using a plane, I didn't do it with that one, I just put away, but this I'll take, and then I'll back that cutter back out so it's not sticking through. Because, you know, if you get careless and you set it down on something, and you could take a nick out of it or damage the blade. Well, anyway, I guess we're going to call it good today here for this video. If you learned anything or if you like it, give it a thumbs up. Got some more things coming up here probably pretty quick on the channel, so you can subscribe if you like. And thanks a lot. Yeah, well, I just decided I wanted to put a little addition on to the end of this video. I want to talk a little bit about, you know, there'll maybe be somebody who will watch my video that is what I would call a plane purist, and they'll think I'm all wet. Because what they think a complete restoration would be to make sure that this sole is perfectly flat. And I've watched these guys and they do it. And they'll put something again like this emery cloth on a hard flat surface, cast iron maybe like I had, and they will work it back and forth and make this whole surface basically turn it one color. There won't be any spots that still have this brownish patina on it. Then they'll consider it then to be perfectly flat. And I've tried that once and decided that, you know, life is just way too short, and I have no time for that. And this plane will work perfectly well for its intended use. They did not come out of the box brand new. They did not come out of the box perfectly flat. I'll guarantee you that. And when the guy, the craftsman who bought it, probably didn't do anything to it other than use it. He may have sharpened the blade some more. I'm not going to say that it was perfectly sharpened blade when it came out of a mass production factory, but, you know, it was probably close, and they probably tuned it up a little bit that way and sharpened it. And I'm pretty sure after they did that, they just got the adjustment where they wanted it and they used it. So anyway, you might see some comments on there that says, I don't know what I'm doing, and that might be, but I like it. So thanks a lot. We'll see you on the next one.